A 27-year police veteran talks about why it's so important that every single one of us has a tribe. And he describes how empathy has helped him be successful at his job. Please help me welcome Captain Kory Flowers. This is Strong Enough. I'm your host, Claudia King. Captain Kory Flowers, my old friend, my longtime friend, we won't say old. How are you doing today?
I'm good. I see that shield on the wall behind you, and I'm immediately like, yeah, I'm in good hands here. We're going to be great. So, yeah, it's cool, man. I was, we were chatting around a little bit earlier. It's just proud of what all you've done and where you've come and all the things that you got your toe in, all the different pools. It's fun to see. But, yeah, man, we ran around together when we were much younger and doing police work. So, yeah, cool. Thanks for the invite very much. That's great.
Yeah, absolutely. I am also impressed with everything you have going on. Like, you're talking about me, and I appreciate that, but you have dipped your toe into a lot of different arenas, not just police related, but really about mental health, helping people. What made you want to do that?
Well, it's interesting. I was telling somebody the other day, the backstory for me is I'm in this career because it's still fun. I started this job in the 1900s with the plan that I'm going to do this till it's not fun. And to this day, I mean, I talk about this all the time. To this day, I think this is the best job in the world. I love it. I mean, it's the reason that all the movies and the TV shows are made only about cops and doctors. Like, everybody wants this job. This is the best job. However, when you hang out in this occupation, as long as I have, this is year 27 and a half or so now, you bump into, I mean, life is hard, right? I mean, at this point in this story of mine, I've lost several friends in the line. I've lost several friends in the occupation to sickness and that kind of thing. And so, man, you have to realize that this is like those movies where the solo lone cop goes it by himself and or retreats into the bottle or falls apart. Like, it doesn't have to be like that. But you do have to, I mean, we're just human beings. We're people. So we have to have a plan and have to care for ourselves and care for each other. The idea about the thin blue line, like, that's just people caring for people is what we're talking about. And so, yeah, life is real. Life is hard. Life will humble you over time. And, at this age, I'm 49. So at this age, I have zero problem asking for help, writing with others for help. I write articles for different publications and do a lot of different podcasts and TV and stuff, just to talk about, these are just real folks, real gals and guys who are doing this profession. They can carry a heavy load, but it's, they're still just people.
I got to tell you, I did read some of the stuff you wrote, and for a Tar Heel, you can put some sentences together. So I was pretty impressed with that.
Well, I appreciate that. That goes a long way. I do. It's funny, man. Anymore, I'm again. I understand AI is coming. I get it. But as a writer, it's kind of offensive because I'll see some of my buddies, put together emails and briefings and things, and when I start seeing like a lot of adjectives, I know that they didn't write that. Way too many adjectives. I know you had AI do that, so don't take credit for somebody else's work.
You know what the other big clue is? M dashes. AI loves the M dash.
That's right, and nobody else does that. That's right.
I actually used one recently myself. I had to look up how to put one in because nobody uses that in real life. So
okay. I'll take that. That's a good clue. So when I start have to get my BS meter out on some of these reports, I'll know. Okay, very good. Thank you.
There you go. Well, you talked about, losing people in your life. And I know that, like, when we go into this profession, it's dangerous. Every day that you walk out the door, you might not walk back in it. And you have a greater chance of that than the general population. Yeah. But in reality, like, how tough is it when you are faced with that, when one of your brothers loses his life to the people in the street that you're trying to prevent getting out there and hurting people?
Yeah. And you're right. Everybody signs on to that conditional offer and takes this job knowing that that's part of it, right? Unlike any other profession, unlike even other professions that deal closely with death, like doctors, for instance, they're going to deal with a lot of death, but very likely they're not going to deal with a good associate of theirs losing their life to a human being with malice. That's the big difference, right? I talk about this a lot. The public tends to like group all first responders together, for instance, firefighters and cops. And I love my firefighter brothers and sisters, and they lose friends in the line also. But it's to hazardous environments. Only cops lose folks to human beings with malice, like with malicious intent, with
Mm.
true evil. That's a very unusual thing in the human experience. And I was talking about this the other day. In my career, I've lost several buddies in the line to suicide, which hits a certain way. I've lost buddies in the line to acts of violence, like panicky violence, from not legitimately evil people, but just panicky snap decisions and takes a life. That hits differently. But then, like one of my best pals, Mike Haran, he was murdered in 2024 by a human being with malice, with true evil intent, the kind of person that should not, we don't need in open society. And that hits at an even different way. So each loss is different, like it's truly different, and it hits differently. And you have to digest those things. Like it's I guess interesting on movies and TV shows when folks lose folks in the line, and it's part of it. Sure, it's part of it. But again, these are human beings. Like
Mm-hmm.
right now I'm in charge of. I run our Vice Narcotics division. I've got about 25 young detectives, and they haven't dealt with a lot of like loss in their lives, and I have to kind of walk beside them and help, hopefully shepherd, direct them a little bit through how that evolves and how you deal with it. And everybody digests these things differently. I think the key is just being honest.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's gonna digest each incident even differently, right? So I told the guys when Mike was murdered, look, if you're feeling rageful right now, that's okay. Just be honest, say it out loud. It takes away some of the power of it. If you're feeling numb, that's okay. Just be honest about it. Speak about it. If you're feeling like vengeful and want to get retribution, like stuff that you should not even think, say it out loud. Just be honest. If you're not sad yet, if you're not in a pool on the floor crying, that's okay. Just be honest. Don't try to hold yourself up against like I should be feeling or looking a certain way. And I think that's the only road to healing from some of these things, and continuing to be effective and productive in a very challenging profession.
You talked about suicide as well, and it seems like the suicide rate in police hasn't really dipped as it should, but mental health seems to be a little bit better because people
Yeah,
like you are encouraging officers to understand their feelings, talk about their feelings. What more do you think it's going to take to
yeah,
actually see that suicide rate decline?
yeah. I'll tell you. So the first thing that comes to mind, and I'm not going to use any names, but a more recent acquaintance of mine who suicided, who killed himself in the line. Um, the morning I heard about it, of course, it hit like a nuclear bomb, right? That this happened. Immediately, I said, "Well, look, I need to reach out to his close pals in order to, because they're going through it. Like
Mhm.
this is hitting them far more impactfully than it's hitting me because they're close to him. Who are those guys? I need to call those guys." And I stopped and I realized there was no circle. That person had not surrounded himself with any close group of pals, of comrades to march through just life together, but
Mhm.
specifically our profession. And so when you see things like it can never be more powerfully spoken that you have got to surround yourself with a very small group. I call it a tribe, not just pals, but a tribe of guys or gals who will hold your feet to the fire, who will walk with you through life, who you can bounce ideas off of when you're half-assing things, they'll step to you, or when you're being lazy, they'll step to you, or when you're wrong, they'll tell you. They'll encourage you. They'll hand clap you when you're doing things that are applaud worthy. But you have to do that, and I see that a lot of times as a connection between some of these guys and gals in our profession that see no other option and take their lives. They haven't tactically surrounding themselves with a tribe. I think that's super important right now.
Do you think it's possible to start identifying that earlier? Not saying any one particular person, but with who you're talking about, and I think I know who you're talking about. Could anybody have noticed that sooner? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know. It's so funny, man. You come through, and you've experienced this like I have. You come through the academy, you gel with your team. You know that those 26 or 35, whatever people very well, and then you go out into the police world. In our agency, we've got, it's a pretty big agency. We've got about 650 cops, and you scatter to the wind, and you see each other from time to time on the range throughout the years, but you lose contact. But I'll tell you, like beginning now, when I speak with the academy, which is regularly, because I like to impersonate a young person. I rub elbows with them, but I tell them, like, look, y'all, I'm telling you, of all the things that you need to be doing, you need to be looking around, finding people that share your same, character, values, formula for life, and you need to pull those folks close. And then you need to protect that tribe. That's super important. That's not going to be a big group. That's going to be 3 to 5, 6 people. But they need to know your middle name. They need to know your password. They need to be trustworthy with your wife in a hotel room. Like, these are the important people that you got to protect. And so, I think if we're not learning something from tragedy, then those tragedies are, wasted. And that's our fault. That's our responsibility. So I can take what I see as a tragedy from somebody else, and I can borrow and learn lessons and then cast it to the next generation. But yeah, I don't want to see young guys and gals trying to run in this profession solo. It is not wise. You're not that tough. I'm not that tough. I know that.
I'd like to think I am, but I am certainly not. So,
Sure. Yep.
how much do you think the job has changed? Because, I did it back when it was really fun. And
Yeah.
then, like 8 years ago, and it had
Yeah.
changed so much,
Yes.
in between. What's different for you now that you see these younger officers and detectives and you're like, man, that's
Yes.
way different than, when I started?
Yeah, it's primary. I'll be honest. The primary difference that I see is, I'm not one of these old fogies that decries all things, technology. But social media has made this job very, very challenging for the young generation. Not because that nonsense has not always been there, but these generations that have come after me, their reality is formed in a lot of cases by what they see on social media. And so, I mean, you see it now, like young folks outside of the career, they'll thank me for my service. And, oh, I know this is a really hard job. I know all the people really hate y'all. And that's not true. That's not true at all. But it's very obvious and true in a pseudo world, like online,
Mhm.
in the social media world. If you didn't get out and rub elbows with the public as a cop, like real people in 3D, who continually will come up to uniformed officers all the time in every time zone in our country and thank you for your service. We appreciate
Mhm.
what you do. That's real. However, the young generation, because they're here. This is their
Mhm.
world, right? And so their reality is formed by social media. And so they enter our profession already thinking, oh, it's us against them. They, whoever they are, hate
Mhm.
us and want our failure. And it's not true, but it appears very true. Social media is like a bullhorn. Like there is cheap. Anybody can buy one, and you can just scream into it. I mean, it's true. But so I tell the young folks, look, the antidote for that is get out and mingle with real human beings. I was a bike cop here in town for about 3 years as a sergeant. And that was the best for my mental health because I was necessarily vulnerable. I was on the bike with me and my my crew, and we were constantly rubbing elbows downtown in our business district with, just regular people, employed folks just going about their business. They don't have time to protest the police. They're just grateful that they can walk safely down the street. And you constantly get that inflow of positivity, which is,
Mhm.
again, real. It's the antidote for that, for that online nonsense.
There's a lot of nonsense online, I have discovered, and
Yeah.
people feel very confident in saying whatever it is they want to say behind
Yeah.
that keyboard. And yeah, I
Yeah,
just
that's
want to
right.
show up at their houses and just
Yeah.
be like, no, but say it now to my
Yeah, that's right.
face.
That's right. Yeah, the First Amendment is a beautiful and terrifying idea, right? That anybody, regardless of whatever your bend is, can just say whatever you want, right? But it's important that, yeah. Again, I keep saying the young folks, but I tell the young folks all the time. I tell myself, never, ever, don't ever receive criticism from somebody that you would not ask for advice from. Like that's a really good metric right there. I tell
Mm-hmm.
the folks like I don't if a lot of my younger detectives, they get all bent out of shape because they'll, well, I heard so and so has said this about so and so, and they've heard this, and I'm like, guys, we're not going to accept second or third hand criticism, right? I mean, Teddy Roosevelt famously said, "The critic does not count. I don't care. It's the person in the arena doing the work," right? And I tell them, look, if you got a problem with me, text me. If you don't have my number to text me, I'm probably okay not having your opinion. I'm probably going to be just fine, and that's okay, right? We don't have to give the same weight to
Mm-hmm.
everybody's opinion. It's just, you get people chiming in. I've always thought it's interesting. There's no public citizen review boards for surgeons, for instance,
Right.
right? Nobody wants to look over the shoulder of a knee surgeon and criticize his or her work because they don't know anything about knee surgery. We forget this is a profession also. I'm a
Mm-hmm.
professional. You're a professional. These cops, these million cops that protect our country are professionals. And just like I'm not going to watch a video of a knee surgery, as brutal as that might look to my untrained eye, and criticize it, I don't know that you're valid looking over our shoulder dealing with police work and being untrained. But it's a national pastime. I get it. I mean, people get into that. I don't. It doesn't bug me.
I love what you said though about text me, Oh, you don't have my
Yeah.
number? Then I don't care.
It's fine. It's perfectly fine. That's right. That's right. If you can't text me, come to my house. If you don't know where that is, I certainly don't want your. Yeah, it's okay.
I love it.
Yeah, it's cool.
So before I came to the academy, I was the kind of person that never wanted to lead because I was afraid of messing up.
Yep.
I didn't want to be responsible for other people because I didn't want to mess it up. I always wanted
Yep.
everything to be perfect.
Yep.
And so, one of the best things I learned being a cop was how to lead people, how to make a split second decision, how to take that information and confidently decide what you're going to do and defend
Yes.
it. What's the
Yes. That's
best
right.
thing you learned in your years as a police officer?
Yeah. I had a guy early on as one of my training coaches told me this early on, and it has impacted me completely to the point that at present in Vice Narcotics, it's one of our ethos, and it's very similar to what you just said, but we strongly, strongly, highly value mistakes. I mean, honestly, think about it. Like if you're the type that does not make a mistake, that only means that you've never done anything impactful. That's
Mm-hmm.
all that means. That doesn't mean you're perfect. That means you have probably not tried. So I tell the guys and the gals here all the time, look, I want you to have a bias for action, like what you just said. Make a call, right? And if you make a mistake, like if it doesn't work out, that's fine. That's perfectly fine. If you're operating ethically, morally, legally, in pursuit of justice, in good faith, you can make all manner of mistakes. One of my best pals here, Dan Moore, was one of your training coaches, and he used to say that he would tell citizen groups that all the time. He would quiz them, right, when we talk about police powers, and he would say, "Look, how often in a percentage do y'all think cops have to be right on the job, like correct?" And you'd hear, the citizens say, "Oh, 70%, 99%, 100%." And he would tell them, "Look, no, we don't ever have to be right. We always have to be reasonable." But what happens is the more you're reasonable, you find yourself being correct, almost like a
Mm-hmm.
whole lot, right? But if you're not trying, if you're not being okay with making those mistakes and then recalibrating, you're just going to sit in neutral. And the taxpayers do not pay us for that. And we don't, this is customer service. We serve the citizens of whatever jurisdiction. They do not pay us to not be innovative, assertive, aggressive, proactive, fighting crime. So, yeah, being okay with making a mistake. I mean, I tell people all the time, look, I've been wrong today. Like it's 1 p.m. on the East Coast. I've been wrong. I've actually been wrong twice today, and that's okay. Like we're gonna be fine,
It's all
right? So you learn,
good.
yeah, you learn from it and press on. That's right.
Can you name all of my training officers?
No, but I only know Dan. I only know Dan because you joined one of our squads as a trainee while Dan was had the wheel of your tutelage. So that was cool. And again, you were always getting after it, which sticks out because that's a rare thing. So yeah, no, I don't know, but Dan was one of my best pals. Yeah,
Dan was a really good guy, and he was probably one of the best training officers because he just wanted to get into it and he
yeah,
wanted to do things the right way and he
yes,
wanted to make a difference.
Yep, yep. He's the
Huge.
best. I've said it for you. He left us due to pancreatic cancer in 21, and he's the, a lot of times places, whether it's a McDonald's or a Walmart or a police station, when guys leave or retire, they leave a gap and it gets filled. He's the type of guy that he left a nuclear crater that will never be filled. He's the
Mhm.
best cop we've ever built here, and I was just like you, just proud to know that guy, and I think about him a lot when I'm making decisions for sure.
I love that.
Yeah,
I want to flip a little bit. You mentioned earlier talking to your team when tough things happen, and you
yeah,
talked about, having them talk about what they were going through, and it looks
yeah,
different for everybody.
yeah,
However, one of the things that we do as cops is we look at the general public when they're acting certain ways after
yeah,
certain situations and we judge
yeah,
them. We
yeah,
go,
yeah, yeah.
they didn't act right.
That's
They
right.
didn't
Yeah,
act right.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, it, you know, I, so the problem is this, and this is what I always, and I tell the guys this, and I think back to pick an era of challenge. The BLM riots, that was a really challenging time. 2020 and the disaster I was a watch commander at that point during the riots during COVID. I mean, just
Mm,
with total upheaval. The problem almost always comes with human beings when we forget about the flesh and blood and we start when we group people together, right? Like even in your question, that's a very normal way to think, like the police way of thinking and the public way of thinking.
hmm
um, I tell you, I remember a couple conversations I had during the Black Lives Matter rallies that some of them descended into riots and like true criminal chaos. That was just that happened, unfortunately. You'd be on the front lines on the bike protecting this 700 member, 1,000 person member group of people, protecting their right to peaceable free speech. Meanwhile, they're screaming murderer, racist, that kind of thing at you. And that was tough. But I had so many very impactful, potent conversations just to the side of those rallies. Like I remember one particular day, this female was on the front line screaming at me, yelling at my guys and gals, and I said, "Look, would you want to just talk? Like actually talk, like a dialogue? Like just come over here where I can hear you and you can hear me." And she was courageous, to her credit. And we
hmm
stepped 25 meters away, and I said, "Look, I know I dress a certain way, and I'm grouped with all these other folks because we have the same shield. But my name's Flowers. Okay, what's your name? Can we talk?" And we had, I mean, truly like beautiful conversations. I did that numerous times because it was self therapeutic, right? To take some
hmm
of this invective away and just have conversations. What a novel idea! And we had great conversations. Just people remembering that people are people. I mean,
hmm
we jump into this profession with a certain skill set, a certain calling, but we're just human beings, right? I mean, and I am an individual, and I bet you we'll have a much more enjoyable conversation if we're not maybe yelling at each other, maybe, as a group screaming and accusing folks. Anytime I hear anybody start a sentence with, them or y'all people or those people, I'm just like, stop. Because
hmm
whatever comes next, you're going to be wrong. Okay. You're going to be ignorant. You're going to be wrong. Let's talk about a person, a person, right? See, I think that's the key, man. Just remembering, wherever you fall in the story, in the chapters of the story, you're a person, and the person you're interacting with is a person with a certain life trajectory that's given them their perspective, which is totally valid.
How do we make more police officers like you that
You
actually
don't say it.
care?
Yeah, I know what you're saying. I will look. You don't. Very few people. My wife knows me well enough to know you don't want to make more people like me. But I understand what you're saying. We want to make people who are human beings and treat people
Mm-hmm.
as. So I was talking about this on a podcast the other day. I don't know. Maybe me and you can figure this out right now. But I'm gonna tell you what was very common. I don't think you can take this conversation that you and I have at our age and our seniority in life. I don't think you can unfortunately take it and download it into a 22-year-old. I don't
Mm-hmm.
think you can do that. But what we can do is talk about our experiences. But I remember I was talking about this the other day. I remember coming into the profession at 21, 22, and my world was very black and white, like a lot of 22-year-olds, right?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Good, evil, white hat, black hat. I'm going to be an enforcer of the law, and everybody that I deal with who's broken the law is evil and a criminal and different than me. And at 49, I recognize that is the dumbest damn thing. Like none of that's not right. That is not right. If not, but for a few different little life choices, I
Hmm.
could totally be in that guy's seat. I could totally be in this lady's chair, making those decisions. You've seen it, Claudia, especially with a lot of the just case review that y'all dove into over the years. But like evil's in the world. Evil's real. There is evil. Thankfully, it's pretty rare. Thankfully, and most of all the crime that we see is panicky, a couple bad
Hmm.
decisions that again any of us could make, right? And so being like at 49 now, I do not look down my nose at folks. I mean, I just don't do it. I mean, again, there's the evil folks. I was a SWAT cop for 10 years, and we would get called to deal with the truly evil people.
Hmm.
And that's a different category. But the normal, just like me, but had a tougher upbringing, made a couple bad decisions that led them to a life of crime. Man, I am not prepared at 49 to look down my nose at that guy or that gal. That could be me too. And if you forget that, like it's not, it's going to make for a pretty tough life experience in my estimation.
A lot of people's least favorite thought is to interact with the police for a lot of
Yep.
different reasons, because it
Yeah.
means something bad has happened or you've
Yep.
maybe committed a crime.
Yep.
One of the things, though, that I think cops can do better, a lot of cops, is interact with victims
Yeah. Yep.
differently and better sometimes. But victims can also do the same.
Yeah.
I think when you come into a situation where you have to talk about what you went through or what happened, it's obviously challenging. But what can victims do better when
Yeah.
they're interacting with the police to help solve whatever happened to them?
Yeah. And what you say is universal. We were on an out of town trip 6 weeks ago. I got pulled over, and I mean, and I didn't like anything about it. Like right from the very beginning,
I
like I
hate it.
dislike that. Yeah, I'm out of jurisdiction. I might actually get a ticket. Like I don't like anything about this. But I think the answer to this also harkens back to what we were just talking about, which like common grace for other human beings, right? And this is tough. Like, and a lot of these are self-inflicted wounds that our profession has put on us. Like folks that get badge heavy and authority heavy, and they love the condescending. Like I'm telling you, that is a common enemy. We have got to get away from that.
Hmm.
But on both sides of the conversation, the cop wearing the shield, sitting in a position of authority, not in trauma at the moment, and the victim, like truly their world's been upended, like total upheaval. That officer may represent everything safe in the world for them. He or she also may represent like a strong bias against that person. I would encourage everybody to remember, like the gal wearing that shield with that patch, that's a human. That was a human before that was a cop. And the victim, I'm not prepared to approach them a certain way, just because at present they've been victimized. They were a human being before they were victimized. So I think so how to do that, I don't exactly know, but I know this: if you keep that at the forefront of your mind while you're having those conversations, it just makes for a better conversation, right? Um, you know, just empathy is on the. I mean, it's that's one of the things that social media has assassinated is empathy,
Hmm.
and that's not good. We have to have that because one thing that cops don't have to be fearful of is their jobs being taken over by AI, because this is not science. This is art. I mean, honestly, like dealing with human beings, man, there's a trillion variables. There's no two conversations the same. But if we'll start there and just approach, you've done it tons of times. There's a way to effectively question a victim that doesn't feel like questioning. It feels like
Hmm.
a empathetic conversation, and you still get all the information you need. You take your time. I tell folks, we don't get paid by the hour, right? I mean, you're here, be thorough, right? There's no reason to rush. The taxpayers, again, who we serve, they deserve that. I guarantee if that was your aunt, your mother, your dad, I guarantee you'd treat them in a different way. That's the way you need to think about it. So yeah, we're just people. I think if everybody would remember that, and again, like the social media algorithm, that they've learned that there's far more profit in dividing folks.
Hmm.
But we have to stand against that. I think that's very, very important.
If you could wave a magic wand and change one thing about policing, what
Yeah.
would you change?
Wow, man, I've never been granted that kind of hypothetical
This is some
power.
power here.
Yeah, for sure. Man, I don't know. It's funny because you're asking that from a guy who truly, I mean, I love this job as much today as I did. And primarily because I like locking up actual bad guys. Like
Hmm.
I'm a 9-year-old at heart right now. I think of cops and robbers. And I mean, I do. I love chasing folks, like the bad folks right now. I like locking them up. I think the world needs that. That's great. Um, so I don't have a lot of complaints. It'd probably be something about physically making like sleeping during the day okay on your body, because that's one thing I don't know how you overcome. I mean, we got, all over this country, we got valorous 25-year-old men and women, across the country that will protect your city wherever you live all night long, and you'll wake up in the morning, everything's fine just because they were up all night, and then they got to try to go to bed. And it's tough, man. It's easy when you're in your 20s, but beyond that, it's a real challenge. So if somebody could invent a way for us to recoup sleeping during the day like Dracula, I'd probably bequeath that to the next generation. But beyond that, man, I don't have a lot of complaints.
Here's what's funny about that. Maybe I need to be studied because I am a night shifter at heart.
How about
You,
that?
yeah, you let me stay up all night and sleep during the day. I'm the happiest
Really?
person ever.
You're built for night shift. That's good. I'm telling you,
Yeah.
when I was in my 20s, I could do it, and I could pivot, and I could live a normal life on my off days. But now at 49, I'll have to fill in for watch command overnight, maybe one day every 6 months, and it takes me 5 days to recover. Like I feel like a non-human. So you're uncommon in a good way, and that's a good thing.
And maybe somebody should study me or something. I'm not sure. Well,
That's right.
yeah, I'll donate to science
That's
for
great. Okay,
that
that's good.
one thing.
That's kind of you. I like that. All right, good.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
solved that. Hey, we solved that. Good for us. There you go.
We can check that off the list.
That's
So
right.
now we just need world peace
That's
and
right.
we'll be all
That's right.
set. Kory, if people find you, normally I ask where people can find you, but if people find you, they're probably having a bad day. So,
Yeah, that's an
where
understatement.
what should people not do so that they don't see you and have a bad day?
Well, I tell you this: I've had my whole career has been heavy on the tactical and narcotics and enforcement side. I'll tell you, at present in Vice Narcotics, if I meet you in a professional capacity, you have made a bunch of poor life decisions. I'll tell you that. You will not run into me. I've people ask this a lot. Yeah, social media and all that. I've necessarily never done it. The
Hmm.
idea of even the word follower, I dislike. I don't like it. The idea that somebody's going to follow, I don't like it. I've just never got into it, so I don't have any social media footprint in the world that you can
I
find.
know. I
Yeah,
try.
that's right. But I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn because that's like of all the platforms, that's the one that fits
It's
where I'm
fairly
at now.
normal.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I can be found on there. There's no hiding, but yeah, there's no Kory Flowers that exists on Facebook. It looks like this guy.
So don't, yeah, if you find him, it's not this guy. It is
Yeah, don't
not.
buy a diamond mine in Nigeria from that guy because he ain't real. He's not real.
I want to say before I let you go, as fun as you have made policing sound, I want to tell everybody a lot of paperwork. There's still a lot of paperwork involved.
For sure.
So
Yeah,
every
yeah.
fun thing that takes an hour is like 3 hours of
Yes.
paperwork.
Yes,
So
every good story. Yeah, if you get a cop cornered in a bar or wherever, and they give you like a great epic story that probably is already a movie, that was about 5 minutes of that week, and then there was about 4 days of writing and probably cheating with AI and making this story. So yeah, that's right. That's right.
Kory, you have been absolutely amazing. I appreciate you hanging out with me today, talking a little history. It has been awesome, and I can't wait to see what you do next.
Yeah, cool, friend. And like I said, I've enjoyed watching your trajectory. Thanks for representing the Shield very well. There's a lot of folks that that I've seen. They just they'll chase a name or chase profit or chase the next thing. But I think what you're doing is making a difference in a lot of ways. So I'm grateful. Again, anybody that's cheerleading our profession, man, I'm a big fan. So good work, onward. Good for you.
Thank you.